Today on Locked On Red Wings, we're going to update you on the Jakub Vrana situation as some concerns have been leaking out over Twitter. We're going to clear the air. We're going to talk about Filip Zadina finally in his first game that he played. And the reverse retro teaser trailer dropped, and it's actually ripe with information if you look closely. And that's all on today's episode of Locked On Red Wings.
Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for WWJ News Radio 950, while Scotty is the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. So, Scotty, we came into this episode trying to clear the air because of the news we had heard about Jakub Vrana, or the lack thereof. We only heard that he was missing because of personal reasons and that he would not be playing on Friday. We intended to, keep people calm. And then as I'm editing, the news comes out. And that's the problem with sometimes recording in the middle of the day. Things come out after you finish recording, but this was big. So we decided to go back and re-record and insert this into the episode. Jakub Vrana has entered the player assistance program. There are no details as to why, and I doubt we will ever get those details. And I am not going to speculate as to why. But we know that program is there to help people who suffer from,
it's a wide range.
It's a wide range.
Bobby
Ryan's been in it. He won the Masters Trophy after coming out of it. I believe Carey Price was in it last year.
Stuff from substance. There's just stuff from just pure mental health,
mental health.
There's no. It's a very wide range of things that they cover, and I know everybody's brain immediately, for the most part, probably goes to substance, but we don't know, you don't know, nobody knows.
Speculate.
Right, and they cover so much, and that they help players with so much that it's not right for anybody to say, this is definitely what it is. But he is definitely joining or entering, I guess is probably the better word, program.
And the specialists, go ahead.
The NHLPA, the public relations department of the NHLPA released a statement about it. Again, no in-depth details because we are not owed those, and
nope.
We will, like Brian said, likely never get those. The one sentence that kind of sticks out to you just in trying to gauge when he'll be back is he will return to the club when cleared for on-ice competition by the program administrators. So there is no timetable of, people enter this program and are out in X amount of weeks. No, he will, by the sounds of it, but by what we can take out of the statement that they released, at least, it sounds like he will be back when the administrators and the people that are going to help him through whatever he is going through clear him to come back. So that's pretty much the extent of what we know. That's probably all the information we'll ever know.
Yeah, so what the big takeaway here is Jakub Vrana is not going to be with the team for the time being, and that we will continue to root for him as he, starts this journey in an attempt to get back into the right headspace, whatever that means for him. And that when he comes back, well, obviously you and I are going to, not that he needs us to welcome him back in open arms, but the Red Wings fan base, I'm sure, will welcome him back in open arms, and hopefully he can score all those goals we were hoping about. But on a less important note, it does really stink that he just can't seem to catch a break. I mean, last year with the injury in training camp, now back to this year with the having to enter this program, obviously, again, you hope for the best and he returns when he's ready. But we're chomping at the bit to see some Jakub Vrana, man. It stinks, but and we'll cut once we get back to the original episode. Once it cuts back into that, you'll hear us talk about it, but it enters a big opportunity for guys like Filip Zadina to fill that vacancy. And I would assume now that we know that Vrana and Bertuzzi are out for a long time, that you'll see another player added to the roster from AHL. And whether that be a young guy or a vet remains to be seen. Now that we know those guys are going to be out for a longer period of time, I don't want to make any assumptions, but you could make a case for a Jonathan Berggren, because then there's actual minutes that he could get rather than just playing 1 or 2 games, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I don't know. Like we said, we recorded a segment talking about
Recorded a
this,
whole episode.
and right. Well, yes, but we, in the first segment of, we talked about it, and now we're going back and adding this in after the fact because this came out. So I don't know if you'll hear the part in which we talk about it, or what we'll make it and what won't. But yeah, I think there is definitely a little bit more of a case for someone else like a Berggren to get an opportunity, just because, like you said, the reason that you wouldn't is if Vrana wasn't out for a decent amount of time, I guess we'll say,
Yeah.
because of playing time and whatnot. But I mean, if you need depth, and if Berggren can get an opportunity to play, higher than like fourth line, which is what we initially thought, because now we have 2 of our top 6 forwards out for the foreseeable future, then maybe there's a little more justification to bring him back. But yeah, the biggest thing is obviously, Verana's well-being, and some things are bigger than the game of hockey.
This is
And
definitely one of them.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I am, yeah, very very much in support of him, and am very open about mental health stuff and whatnot. So hopefully he gets everything that he needs. And yeah, obviously just wish him nothing but the best. And like you said, I mean, wishing for the best for him as a person, but not but and we are also just because he's such an electric player on the ice, that's it yeah, just not a great situation all around. So yeah, obviously wishing him nothing but the absolute best, and hoping that we can see him back on the ice and doing everything we were excited to watch him do this year soon enough.
Yep. Seconded. On that somber note, we'll send you back to the episode where we talk Filip Zadina and reverse retro. But then the question becomes posed, Scotty, who's going to step up? Because now you have Bertuzzi and you have Vrana out. And so that brings you down from 14 forwards, which seemed like an excess at the start of the season, down to 12, which is the minimum you need to fill out a roster. And you have 7 defensemen. So you could go dip down in the Grand Rapids Griffins pool. And we did talk a little bit about that yesterday, the day before that, when it came to these injuries, when we were talking about it. And at that time, I was working on the assumption that Vrana might be back on Friday, so you still have 13 forwards. But now that you're at 12, it almost feels like you want to dip down for a forward from Grand Rapids just as a precaution. I mean, if you had to take a prediction, and they might not, but I feel like it's probably wise. If you had to make a prediction on who's going to get called up, I mean, who would it be?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this yesterday a little bit too, and just like, who would be, and we were just talking about it from the Burt perspective, and now, like you said, now that we have 2 guys that are likely to miss Friday, it sounds like, well, Bertuzzi's definitely missing Friday, but the I think right, he's out 4 to 6, but I think what you said yesterday really is true. And I think that they are not going to ruin is a very dramatic word for what I'm trying to say. They're not going to remove Berggren from a situation where he's getting significant playing time and can take steps forward and whatnot. So I don't think it's going to be him, as cool as it would be and as nice as it would be to see him get some NHL ice time. I don't think they want to remove him from a situation where he's going to get, 22 to 24 minutes a night. So I do think it's going to be if I had to guess somebody like Luff, honestly, I think Matt Luff is probably my guess.
I would guess that too. That or Giovanni Smith.
Yeah.
Maybe Zarnik, but you're probably going to go for a winger.
That extra skater to be, to specialize in his area of hockey. I don't know, but
no, I completely agree. I think that they could go a route like a Jonathan Berggren or guys like that among that route if you really wanted to, see a young guy when there's this long gap opportunity. But like you said, it would only have to be if they're getting a lot of minutes,
Right.
and we don't know if that's going to happen. That would have to be both Vrana and Bertuzzi are out for a longer period of time, and this player is going to be outperforming the likes of Adam Ernie or Filip Zadina or any Oscar Sundqvist, any kind of winger down there. And right now, I don't know if
Right.
that's capable of that, those young players. So I agree. I think it'd be a Matt Luff type. I think it'd be a Giovanni Smith type, maybe an Austin Zarnik. There's another guy whose name I'm forgetting right now, but matters not. It's going to be one of those guys if they decide to call anyone up at all. But that
Yeah,
does bring
it
us.
probably has to do with I would imagine that decision has to do with how long they expect Verona to be out. If they call somebody up, maybe that's a indication that maybe a team misses Friday and he misses the next game. Whereas, if they don't, they're like, okay, he'll be back, whatever. It's not even worth calling somebody up. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to do unprofessional journalism and speculate on anything either. But like that, I feel like that might hold a little bit of weight. So we'll see what happens come Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of naturally blends us into the Filip Zadina conversation that we've been wanting to have. And it's more or less just like a kind of a more in-depth look at his game on Monday night, because he sat the first two games as a healthy scratch after looking what we thought pretty strong in the preseason. But they opted to scratch him in those first two games. And due to injury and the personal reasons thing, he did get to play on Monday. And to be honest, I understand why now, having watched that game, why Lalone decided to sit him. He didn't look awful. He slotted right in there in a top six role. Started the game on line 2 with Kopp and Perron at the time. He didn't look
Started.
awful. He started the
But
game.
that blender
Didn't
was
finish.
was working, baby. He was playing with everybody by the end of it. Yeah.
But I can see now, watching the game and a regular season game against a good team, why they decided to scratch him over the players that they did, because when he was put under pressure, he seemed to cough the puck up a lot. When somebody attacked him directly is when he seemed to kind of, brain fart, not really sure what to do with the puck, and coughed up a turnover. When he had space, I think he was okay. And I thought he played in the defensive zone very well, but I can get why that he was the 13th forward on this team or 14th forward on this team, however you want to say it.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at how the offense performed in the first two games, like everybody loves the Redwoods line, right? So like we're not messing anything with there. The top six was solidified. So the only real opening was if you could have found him a spot on the fourth line. And sure, I guess there's an argument that you could have slotted him in, maybe over an Adam Ernie or something down there on the fourth. But I don't know. I don't think that, given, again, like really this conversation revolves a lot also around that, how good that huge third line has been. And I think that, then you're only talking about 2 available spots versus 4. And that's a huge difference if you eliminate, because, coming into the season, we are like, oh, bottom 6 forward, he'll get some time on the third line, probably the fourth, like mix and match, whatever. And now, I mean, if the Redwoods line is here to stay and that's just going to be it, then you just cut his opportunities in half.
Yeah.
And, Adam Ernie, like him or hate him, he's going to keep getting opportunities. He's, what you're going to get out of Ernie. He's consistent night in and night out basis. Solid, like, veteran presence down there on the fourth. Zadina's not about to play forward or center rather. And, yeah, I guess that even more so. There you go. That almost even leaves just like one spot for him, kind of on a consistent basis. So I think a lot of the lack of opportunity with Zadina also has to do with just the fact that we have discovered this giant third line that's been unbelievably productive 3 games in.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll continue this conversation, but first I got to talk to you guys today about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for football betting info this season. Find all of the latest player development, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you can find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, It's where the game starts. So yeah, segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. You're right, Scotty. This discovery that is the Redwoods line, so to speak, kind of really cuts that whole line down where he would be playing. And with this team fully healthy, it would be fourth line or nothing for Filip Zadina, unfortunately, early in the season, assuming that Redwood line continues. But with the injury to Bertuzzi and Vrana getting out, I think he is going to continue to get looks in that top 6 because, again, it comes to that argument with ceiling. He does have that incredibly high ceiling, but it's just, he has failed to show it up until this point. And I do think that in a lot of ways, this is a make or break season for him. He wasn't necessarily, and I spoke about him in the first segment, Scotty, as if like he played like absolute garbage. That's not true. He looked okay. He wasn't awful. Like I said, under pressure, he tended to cough the puck up. But when he had space, he was making good, smart passes in the offensive zone, and he was playing a really good 200-foot game from what I saw. He was getting in the corners in the defensive zone, trying to move that puck and get that puck from the opponent, which is something that when he started his career, he wasn't doing. And it is something that Derek Lalonde commented on as to one of the reasons why he was scratched. They said that they wanted him to work on his play away from the puck, and said that when they told him he was scratched, he immediately went back out on the ice and kept working on the things that they told him he needed to work on, which is when you're looking at for a response from a guy, especially with a guy with as much expectation on his shoulders as being a 6th overall pick as Filip Zadina, that is a perfect response. You are obviously going to be upset you're a healthy scratch, but to go back out there and then not to get frustrated, but then put it to use productively by working on those areas they say, and then for it to show up in the game. I did really like that out of Filip Zadina's game on Sunday. And if you look at, so the team as a whole got really outplayed in that game, that loss against the Los Angeles Kings, which, so there was only 4 players on the team that had an expected goals for percentage above 50%. 4 players on that team were a positive asset in generating quality shooting attempts at 5-on-5. Everyone else was below 50% because LA dominated that game. Filip Zadina was like dead set in the middle of the roster when it comes to that. So when I say he was okay, I mean, even metrically, he was okay. He wasn't the best, but he wasn't the worst. And if you put that relative to his teammates, yeah, he was a negative 5.85. But when you look at Adam Ernie, who did score a goal in that game, mind you, was the worst on the team at 5-on-5 at negative 38. I think that it shows that he was okay. I mean, he was right dead center, almost net zero in terms of impact, which isn't like a compliment, but I'm just saying that, he didn't look the greatest, but he didn't look awful either. And I guess that's kind of almost a cop-out. I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to make excuses for Filip Zadina, because technically, metrically, he was still a negative impact player. But in a game where nobody really looked spectacularly, over the top amazing, with the exception of David Perron and that play by Larkin at the end, he looked fine overall.
Yeah, well, and I think that's why he got healthy. I mean, we're having a conversation about like splitting hairs between net zero and where net zero landed on a scale of teammates in a loss. Like if that's the bar for a 6th overall pick, like that's really like sad. So yeah, I think that's probably why he got healthy. And yes, it's a great response. Obviously, you want a dude to go out there and be a dog and go back out on the rink and try and make something happen. But like that's why. There you go. Like he was, yes, he was, around net zero, maybe slightly negative, and he wasn't the worst on the team. I don't think, especially if this dude's about to be slotted into the second line, I don't think not the worst on the team should really be the bar. Like that this is again, we're not only just the draft pedigree and whatnot, but even just like where we're at as a team, we are trying to win games now. And I don't think kind of net zero, maybe slightly below, maybe slightly above, and let's compare him to how he does to everybody else, should really be the bar for a dude that, again, is going to get second line minutes for probably a handful of games, especially over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
No, you're right. I mean, everything that I said probably does come off a little bit like I was making excuses for him. And that is a fair judgment to make. And I think that, like, I mean, I believe I also said it. Like, there are expectations for him. Like, this is a do or die year for him in a lot of people's eyes. Not that our eyes really matter in terms of the organization, but I mean, public perception matters. And if people don't think you have it in you, then, that's that's a really bad sign.
Right.
So the fact that he was barely a net negative player on a game where you lost, like you said, is splitting hairs. And in the end of the game, the expectations for him are high and he needs to perform at a higher level. I think that is a perfect way to surmise this conversation and, kind of put a pin in it for now. Because we're going to be talking about Filip Zadina for the entire year, year. Because he's just
as controversial as controversial gets.
We talked about it all last year, and we always mention how polarizing he is, but he's only going to be more polarizing this year. So,
correct.
Keep an eye on that. Speaking of controversial and polarizing, the NHL and Adidas teased their reverse retro jerseys today. And this is something I've been waiting for a long time because we all know how the original reverse retro jerseys looked.
Tough.
They were bland. They weren't. It was like one of those things where you looked at what the Kings got, you looked at what the Colorado Avalanche got, you looked at what the Carolina Hurricanes got, and there were some really stellar reverse retro jerseys out there. And then the Red Wings come out and it's like dun 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 dun, where it's just a plain white jersey with 3 gray stripes, 2 on the arms, 1 on the.
It was so bad.
It wasn't even bad. It was just boring. And so boring that the Red Wings wore.
They wore them for the minimum, and then we're like, we're not wearing this ever again.
2 games on the road.
Yeah, there are 2 in NHL history. They wore those twice. Yeah,
2 games where they could have worn them. I think as many as they wanted. They were just so boring and uninspired. And I kept thinking to myself, and there were some other really, really bad ones as well. But I kept thinking to myself, why did they do this? Like, why did they just do no effort? And I think in the end, they were scared because there's such a rich tradition with the Red Wings, and Red Wings fans are ravenous when it comes to their uniforms, much like myself, that they didn't want to like really go bold. But see, this is where I disagree, and I really wanted them to go bold because this is a one-off jersey. This is a jersey that we'll only have this year. Like bold as in like, for example, the 2016 Stadium Series jersey I thought was bold. The stripe that went across with the modernized D, I didn't necessarily like it. It wasn't my favorite uniform in the world, but I respect the fact that they tried something different for the Stadium Series. The Winter Classic jerseys were play on classics, and they looked great. The last reverse retro wasn't any of that. But now we got our first taste of what the new reverse retro jersey could look like. And we'll get into that in segment 3. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast.
That was an elite transition. Big time players make big time plays. That was elite.
I'm feeling on top of my game today. I don't know what to tell you.
Man, I don't know what to tell you. I'm feeling like it too. I think
it's the daytime here. You're daytime recording, man. It's nice. But literally, like 20 minutes before we started recording, they dropped the actual, not the tweet teaser video they did in the morning. That one was just like, oh, hey, we're gonna do it. There's a teaser for a teaser. They actually dropped the real teaser video, and there was already rumors circulating on Twitter and on Reddit that the main color scheme was going to be red and black. And this teaser video kind of doubles down on that. Now, it's tough to tell because of the way they shade everything. But that along with the way, and if you watch carefully, and I have it on my Twitter, at Brian Fisher, WWJ. Make sure you follow and subscribe on Twitter. But
subscribe to you on Twitter?
Well, subscribe to us on YouTube, whatever you want. There's a short clip that I snipped, and I said, this is the part you want to focus on, because at one point it's really quick, like digital graphic editing on top of this, like blacked out.
It's kind of like putting an ad on an ad.
Shut up. But they put like a red stripe, and it goes up and down the jersey real quick. Multiple red stripes go up and down the jersey really fast, and followed by black boxes with red outlines to fill in the spaces where those red stripes were not. And it happens in the blink of an eye. It's like one frame each. It happens so fast. And I posted the snip, said, this is the part you guys want to watch for. Because compare this to I posted in my replies to the Sharks jersey, where those blue stripes on those are angled in an arrow. It goes up in an arrow. So that seems to indicate what the jersey's design will be, what it will look like in terms of like the striping and everything. And they did multiple red stripes up the middle. And if it's true that the Twitter rumors are it's going to be red and black color scheme. You're looking at a possibly a barbershop jersey that is going to be red and black primarily rather than red and white, which is in its essence a reverse retro.
Sick. That's what it is.
In
essence, if that's what it is, that's hard.
We will find out.
Awesome.
We were supposed to find out today, and I guess I know what your opinion on it is. I think that if that is true and it is this, and all indications are pointing that it is, I'm gonna like it. And what I like the most about it is that they decided to go bold, that they went with a retro look and decided to put a twist on it like we've never seen it before with that black and red look. I know black's never been in the Red Wings color scheme before, and I think that's what's going to be controversial about it is some people don't like black in the Red Wings uniforms. They've had black like jerseys in the past. Reebok had what do they call it? The black ice jersey, and I thought it looked sick. But not everyone likes the black. But as a one-off jersey that could be worn multiple times throughout a season, that it'll only be here this year, I love it. I love the concept of it because they went with something very different, but at the same time, a reference to something from the past. And that is the essence of the reverse retro.
Yeah, not just here's a gray jersey.
Yeah.
No, dude, I can't wait. I really do. First off, I think you're spot on. I think that's given the video and everything. I think that's what we're going to get. And that if that is what we are going to get, I am beyond pumped. I think that it's going to look so cool. I can't wait. I think that is, like you said, that's not only is it a callback to like previous jerseys that were really well received. Bingo.
He's a writer.
Received. Yeah, no, I all right. Let's grow up a little bit. I think that I can't wait though, for real. I think that it's super cool. Like I said, dip back in history while also having a new twist on it. Also, like all across the league, it's really like all of the videos and hype things are very dark and like black. And I think that might just be like all of them are going to have a lot of black in them. And I if that's the case, then that's just like maybe the style that's like going around. I don't know.
That's not true though, because some of them did leak today and not all of them have black in them.
Oh, you're right. Nashville leaked today.
It was like a...
Oh my gosh. You're right. I literally knew that and just said that anyway. That's completely my fault. But no, Nashville's...
Yeah. But the thing we don't know about this, well, we technically don't know anything because it's not confirmed yet. We're just making all this assumption based on the teaser video and rumors circulating on Twitter. But if this is true, we don't know what the logo is going to look like. We don't know if it's going to have the Detroit word mark on it or if it's going to have the winged wheel. And that's what I'm really excited to see because I don't know what I'm going to like better if that's the case. The thing, too, is... So obviously this is a throwback to the barbershop jerseys, which was a throwback to the Falcons jerseys when they were the Falcons for like 2 or 3 years in the 50s? Maybe no, it was the 30s. It was the 30s.
Yeah, before the 50s.
The 50s is when they won a ton of Stanley Cups.
Right, yeah,
the 30s.
Well before that.
So I'm really interested to see that. It's not... like I said, I like it as a concept. I like that it's bold, and I like it a lot better than the last ones. I do understand that it'll probably be controversial with a lot of people if that is indeed, what it looks like. But also, it's not my first pick of a reverse retro, but I'm also not very creative on what my first pick would be. My first pick would have been like that 2014 Winter Classic jersey with the cream in it, the cream color, except it's reversed. I think if it was a cream jersey with red stripes instead, that would be sick. I saw a couple mock-ups on Twitter on that over the span of all the speculation. I was like, that would have been amazing. But I mean, hey, black and red is a huge improvement over the last one, in my opinion. I know a lot, like I said, a lot of people on Twitter don't want the black, but if it does have black in it, like the rumors are saying, wicked. I think it's going to be cool.
I'm pumped, man. I really am. And like, I'm like, this is a
Cop and Perron are going to have tinted visors too.
What?
Cop and Perron are going to have tinted visors with it too. And that's going to look dope.
It's going to look hard. Yeah. It's not a permanent thing. Like, it's not a, oh my goodness, they're changing like the Detroit Red Wings. Like, no, it's just like a fun one-off jersey for a season. Like, I think I agree with you. I think you might as well go bold, because we saw what happens when you kind of go more conservative with them and just try to keep them bland and traditional and whatnot. Not that, I'm not saying the all gray nonsense was traditional to Red Wings lore or anything,
There
but
was
like
no
that,
reverse or retro in that at all.
right, I exactly. But like, that's what happens when you don't, like, go big or go home. And if people don't like it, then like people are going to dislike everything, like, all
Yeah.
the time ever. So like, let's just try and do something cool. And I don't know. I'm pretty pumped about it. I think that's going to be a sweet look. And I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of the barber pole just as is. So
Oh yeah. You know what's funny? As a kid, I thought it was stupid looking, but it's like one of those things like, you know how your taste in food changes as you get older.
yeah,
This is how it kind of worked with me. And like, I'm looking back on those jerseys now and I'm like, dang, I really wish we had something like that. I wish we had like a permanent third jersey. I know a lot of Red Wings fans are against that, but it's like you wear it like 10 games out of the year and it just adds a little spice, a little flavor. But I know that Red Wings fans, scoff at the idea of having more
yeah,
than just a home and
traditionalist
away
for
jersey,
sure.
which is a kind of ironic coming out of me about how defensive I get about jersey ads, but kind of not the same, but whatever. Um,
No, yeah, go off, man.
no, it's good. It's good. I don't need to call myself out. Uh, let's talk. We got a few minutes left here. Let's talk about Sebastian Cossa because we meant
Mhm.
to talk about this last week. No, it happened
So
over
when
the
we,
weekend, but it got lost in the noise of all the games.
yeah,
He got sent down to the ECHL, the Toledo Walleye, played phenomenal, and then immediately got called back up to the AHL. At this point, it's old news that was just because the Griffins hadn't started playing games yet. The ECHL Toledo Walleye, which is the Red Wings ECHL affiliate, was playing preseason games, so they had him go down there to play some games. They sent Tutayev as well down there. They called both of those guys back up. Sebastian Cossa tonight or yesterday, by the time you're listening to this, is set to make his AHL debut as a goaltender, and he's going against Askarov, who was the first round pick of the Nashville Predators in 2020, the year prior. So it's going to be a battle of first round picks at the AHL level. It's going to be
Ascarov's
awesome.
good, man.
Oh, he's really
He
good.
was a guy. He was a guy. If you're a long time listener, he was a dude that Nolan and I did a deep like breakdown, and I forget who we had on.
Wasn't
I
me.
don't. I don't think it was Tony. We had somebody on to like break down Askarov during our like profiles going into the 2020 draft, man, and he is nasty, and he's been good as a pro. Like, that dude, yeah, he was the top goalie prospect coming out of Russia that season, and yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be really fun. I'm really pumped. I'm really pumped, and I'm glad that it was, there was a little bit of fear again that like, oh, he's not going to get as much playing time in the AHL because they sent him down to the E. But like, no, that was very much just for development and just to get some games in.
Even when they sent him down to the ECHL, I wasn't like panicking. Like out of all the things that's happened with Sebastian Cossa that have made me like think for a second, like, oh no, before I,
Yeah,
leveled out and was like, don't be an idiot.
no one should be thinking that at this age. Like, he's so young. No one should be looking at anything and being like, huh, well, this dude's gonna be a bust because he just got sent down to the E for preseason. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
But at the
that's
time, we
he
didn't know that was the reason. A lot of us, I mean, I even saw guys with big publications going like, "Oh, wonder why this happened." It wasn't until afterwards that we have all
for
collectively
sure. Yeah,
figured it
I didn't
out.
know why it was going into it. Nobody really did, but A, it makes perfect sense, and B, even if he was down there, I mean, like,
It's still a
okay,
step forward.
there's 3 goalies in Grand Rapids. Yeah, if they
Yeah,
sent him down there, then he would have got more playing time anyway. Like, I'm
and it's
glad he's
still
in the A,
professional
and
hockey.
I'm glad that he's in Grand Rapids, and I'm pumped about it, and I can't wait. And I'm glad he's gonna get, I'm presuming, legitimate-ish playing time because they are keeping him there. But yeah, whatever this front office thinks should be the next step for him, I'm going to trust. I'm not losing any sleep over whatever they end up doing with him this season.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, make sure you check out that. If you don't have a subscription to the AHL streaming service, then follow Andrew Rinaldi on Twitter. He has beat writer for Field Pass Hockey, and he gives you up to the minute updates on every Grand Rapids Griffins game. We've had him on a couple of times. He's a great follow if you want to follow the Grand Rapids Griffins. So keep an eye on
Yeah.
him. He'll let you know how Sebastian Cossa is doing. I promise. Scotty, any final thoughts, man?
Um, We ball.
We do ball. We really do.
We really do.
Thanks for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen today. Now make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone, a couple of badass names right there, bring you the fantasy edge and keep you ahead of the competition with daily updates of news, analysis, and advice Monday through Friday, available on YouTube, Odyssey, and wherever you get your podcasts. Scotty and I, you're waiting. I could see it in your face. You were just waiting
So the
for the
funny
moment.
thing is, I was like, I'm going to do it right here in the middle of a sentence. Then I was like, that's a read. Let's let him finish.
You thought about it. I looked over and I was like, this mother. I could see in his eyes. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.